Empire.
Hello and welcome to my podcast. Do me a favor, subscribe to the John Con Report. Wherever you get your podcast, you're watching on YouTube, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. You can find us there as part of Empire Media. That's AMPIRE. Always much appreciated when you tune in. And don't forget, you can read my work on ESPN.com. I'll have a story up. I believe it goes up Tuesday. Just kind of the fallout from the last 2 weeks at quarterback with Sam Howell, and just a lot of what the guys are saying, why they are really believing in him, the things they see. Obviously, John Allen said he could be their quarterback for the next 5 or 10 years. And I think there's a lot of people who certainly believe that can happen. I also know some say it takes time, and I would agree with that. It does take time before we know what a guy can be, but Howell is on a very good path. Also, programming note, live stream show, 7:30 p.m. Eastern time, Tuesday night with Bram Weinstein, the voice of the Commanders. So please join us then. And so let's get into it. I want to do the film review. Of course, going to take another look at Sam Howell, because I just think there's a lot of good things there. And this season really is about him and how he develops. And so I want to look at that. Where's he improved? I think he did a nice job on Sunday and the last couple Sundays. Before I get to that, I did want to talk a little bit about a couple other guys, because I think, Jahan Dotson had really nice touchdown catch, also had another drop. He's had too many drops this year, but he now has 34 catches on the year, which is one fewer than he had all of last year. The difference is he has, I think it's 2 touchdowns this year. He had 7 in touchdowns and 35 catches last year. He's getting open. I think that's a big key, because there were times early in the year I wasn't seeing him get quite as free. I saw he was free more than a few times on Sunday. And there are a couple of times where they just couldn't connect on some deep passes. And I think that's something to watch as we move forward, if they can develop that. And there were a couple of times where I thought maybe Howell had a shot to go to him. There was one time where he opted for a deep fade on a third down to Diami. Now, that's a step. You're going to make the decision and you're going to throw. So this isn't second guessing the decision, but it is to say on that play, what I liked from Dotson on that play is just how he shook the corner on a route over the middle. Howell's already making up his mind to throw. That didn't affect the corner on the coverage. It was just a really good job by Dotson getting open. Don't care that he wasn't the target. It's more, I always like, even last year, like, is he getting open? The answer was yes. And I saw more of that, especially on Sunday. There were a couple of times. There's another time where he's open that looked like could have been open on a deep ball. But I think it was one where Howell was under some duress and did not throw to him. But I think he had a shot at that one too. But it was a good job by Dotson winning on the route. And so I think that's important to point out. And if, by the way, I brought up the drops. He has 5 drops, I think it is. That's what our ESPN stats have him credited for. My guy from college, Chris Olave from Ohio State, he has 6 drops with the Saints. So there's sometimes, and that, which shocks me, to be honest, having watched both these guys in college, that I'm surprised that they're having that kind of an issue, but they did. So we move on from that. But I thought Dotson did a nice job. The touchdown catch was a really nice catch, good throw, but a good catch by Dotson. And I think, the more they can get him involved, I think it will help them, because I think he can be a playmaker. The one thing I'd like to see, I think everybody would like to see, is on some of those deep shots, if you may have to make those tough grabs, right? Can he do that? That's what he did in college. And can he make an occasional, maybe a one-handed catch? Hard to do, but that's where you take the next step as a receiver, to make those kind of plays, which puts you on a different level. But I think be satisfied with if you just catch the balls thrown to you that are there, like some of the ones that he's dropped. So anyway, wanted to point that out. I think I still have a lot of expectations for that kid. Also thought that this was one of Antonio Gibson's better games. I mean, I really liked how he made guys miss. I felt like he really ran hard as well. And I think that was a good thing to see for them. And of his 76 yards that he gained combined from scrimmage, 72 yards came after contact. Now, it's not like there were a handful of pass plays that were behind the line of scrimmage. So you could catch technically it'd be a 4-yard pass, but you could get 8 yards of yak because you catch it behind the line, you're going to run. So he had a couple of those, but overall, he did a really good job in that area. And again, made guys miss, ran with some power, a little bit more physical. And I think that was a good thing to see from him. So wanted to point those things out. And I focused on the offense today because when you're traveling, to be honest, it's hard for me to see everything, to watch all the defense and all the offense. And so in going over Sam Howell's pass plays, there's a lot of them. So Eric Bieniemy is seeing to that there's going to be a lot of pass plays to look at. I'm not going to talk about every one of these pass plays because you don't need to hear about that. I'm just trying to give you a package or an idea of what it looked like for his day. And I think that it looked good, but then it's like, why did it look good? And what did he do well? And I think one of the things, the Patriots do a lot of games up front. This is not like how the Giants were, but there's some similarities. But I think and I told you last by the way, on the prediction podcast, I nailed the score. I had it Washington 20-17. I think apparently I picked that score a couple of times. I got this one right, folks. Anyway, there you go. Just wanted to bring that up for you in case anybody didn't realize that. But one of the things I talked about in there, like compared to the Giants, Wink Martindale's like, he'll send whatever, whenever. Belichick is a little bit more, little bit less unpredictable with some of that stuff, but he's going to do a lot of things, and they did. And so there were a lot of games up front. There were times where they're rushing 3 and dropping 8, and they did that a handful of times. And sometimes you're showing four rushers. One guy will take 3 steps up, and then he's dropping off into coverage, trying to hope to get a gap. And so I think they do a lot up front. Now that affects the protection. I think in the back end, I think Howell did a good job getting that. And I think the protection was pretty good up front. But what it did do is it led to some pressures that Howell did not take sacks on. And I think that's one of the good things. Like the way they were doing the games up front, the Giants killed them with games up front, and they handled a lot better. Tyler Larson is a big part of that, the protection calls. And this is something that Ron Rivera talked about on Monday, but it's clear. He's about 30 pounds heavier than Nick Gates. He's stouter. And it makes you wonder why they went the direction they did, to be honest. And you have a quarterback who needs a stout interior, because if he's going to have success, he can't have guards in his lap all the time, and the interior in his lap all the time. And that's what was happening for the first 7 games. They were always in his lap, it seemed. And sometimes he's holding the ball. Yes. Sometimes you're holding the ball and your guy's still in your lap, or you're not holding the ball and the guy's in your lap. So they have to be stout inside. So why they didn't build a stronger interior is really surprising to me. And, whether it was through free agency or the draft, whatever, I think you needed to build a stronger interior. And there's a lot to like about Nick Gates. I think he's a good leader, good guy to have on here. But I just think for what you needed a strong, and that's what Larson gives you. So that's been a big help. Chris Paul has some strength too, but I think Larson's been the key to all this and getting some better protection and handling those kind of stunts, protection calls. But they did surprise them sometimes, because they would send a blitzer plus a stunt. And, sometimes you're sending a guy off the edge, but the stunts would be a lot of times you might take 2 steps up and cut inside. They're taking 3 steps up and cutting inside. So there were some delayed games, hoping they could get Howell to hesitate with some of the coverage looks and then get home with some of these pressures. And they were getting there close, but he did a good job of getting rid of the ball. And I think that's something that he deserves credit for. And it wasn't just because he felt more comfortable behind the line. I do think that helped, but I also think he just did a good job of getting rid of the ball. And, I think between he and Larson, I think they did a good job of handling a lot of those pressures. And there were some good pockets in there as well. So I think that was a good sign for them to see. I think Howell saved a few sacks because of this, because of how quick he got rid of the ball, and because he recognized where some of the pressure was coming from. And then he was able to again, avoid danger, and it paid off a number of times. Listen, one of the things that you look at when you look at how do sacks impact drives, those are killers. I think it's for the ESPN stats, I think it's something around 1.8 points, the expected per drive, right? The average 1.8 points per drive. If you get a sack on a drive, it goes down to like almost in half. That's how much they affect the game. It's not just about the pounding you take. And again, this isn't to blame anyone. It's just the high number of sacks impacts you in a highly negative way. Now, so that's why the last couple of weeks, having only 4 has been a big deal, because they've been more successful. I know only 20 points Sunday, but they've been more, they did a really good job moving the ball. And so I think that was partly because you avoided all the sacks. I mean, it's logic, man. So it's not that hard. In the first quarter, there was one play, I think in the first quarter, where he gets the ball out in 1.76 seconds. There's a corner blitz. And if you don't get it out that fast, he gets it to McLaurin for 7 yards. You don't get it out that fast, it's a sack. That's recognition, right? The play to Byron Pringle, if you remember that one, it's a 3rd down and 7, right? And they showed, so what the Patriots did, they showed 2 D linemen, 4 guys were standing up. So you basically have a look of like 6 guys there. One of the guys drops, but there's a corner blitz. So you're rushing 6. And they get Howell is being chased down the right side. And you're thinking, oh my God, this is a disaster. So he goes back, I don't know, it's 10, 15 yards, whatever it is, throws it gets to past the right hash, has to throw back to the other side, to almost the other hash, where Byron Pringle goes. I don't know how he saw all of this and how he had the presence of mind to be able to do that. But he did. And it saved a disastrous. Not only did it save a sack, my God, you gained 26 yards. So that was, and he was across his body. So I put the pictures up there of just the screenshots for you guys to see. But it was an incredible play. And that happened all day with him. The plays he made with his legs and his eyes. My God, it wasn't just keeping your eyes downfield when you're going, it's just using them throughout the game for different things that I'm going to tell you about in a minute. There's one play that I really liked that was just a subtle thing, but it was a good thing. Another time they blitz the edge, he gets it out quick to Jahan Dotson to the side of the blitz, 1.71 seconds. He gets hit as he throws. If you're not reacting that quickly, it's a sack. And that's a loss of a down. And not just it's a loss, probably a lost drive at that point. So unless he gets another one of those crazy 24-yard runs. And so there's another, so it's just the ability to avoid danger. And there's another one, and this is an important one because, and I'll tell you why in a minute. So it's first down at the 12-yard line, at the Patriots 12-yard line. The Patriots rush 5, linebacker blitzes through the B gap to on the offense's right side. And Antonio Gibson does a nice job coming over to pick them up enough, but because the pressure up there, and I think, so I'm watching this play. Did he have to leave the pocket here? And I kind of think he knew he had to be able to get the throwing lane that he needed here. Now you have Logan Thomas breaking open kind of over the middle, so maybe you hang, but Jabril Peppers would have been coming down and has a shot at either breaking the ball up or certainly stopping him for a very short gain. So to me, the way I saw this play is that Howell recognizes that he's got to create a lane for himself because he's going to the outside, and that's where he goes. And so just like just a small sprint to his right and creates a better throwing lane for himself. And he connects for, I think it was 3 yards to the outside. I think it was Dotson for 3 yards. So he avoids a really bad play and maybe just a negative, maybe a batted down pass. So now it's 2nd and 7 from the 9-yard line. And the next play, Brian Robinson scores a touchdown. So keeping away from the danger. And again, I think even if he had hung in the pocket, he probably could have just gone to Paulson. I always say that, Logan Paulson. It's not Logan Paulson. Shout out Logan. Logan Thomas could have gone over the middle to him, but I'm not sure what results from that. So even on 2nd and 10 from the 12, if it's a bad pass, are you running the ball in the next play? Maybe not. So, but I know they ran on 2nd and 7 and they scored a touchdown, well-blocked play. But again, save yourself the danger, and then you can keep drives alive. And I think there were times he's thrown the ball away. There's times he was, he did a couple of that too. So, again, avoided sack. There's a 6-yard pass to Antonio Gibson. Charles Leno gets moved back, and Next play, he avoids another sack. This is one where I believe this is where Byron Pringle stumbles. He was looking down the left side. It looks like they're single high, going to take a shot down the side to Pringle, but he stumbles out of the break. So he's got to hold it. And it holds it. It's like 2.71 seconds. And but he moves to his left because there's nothing else available. Pringle's actually open, but there's a guy that's kind of in Howell's vision, throws it over and out of bounds. But again, he avoids danger in what could have been a tough situation because he was getting rid of the ball a little bit better. And there, listen, it wasn't like the line did a pretty good job, man. And so you have to give them a lot of credit. There were times he's holding the ball for 3.4 seconds and he's untouched and the pocket looks really good. And on the touchdown, and on the touchdown pass to Jahan Dotson, that's exactly what that was. It was a really good pocket. There were a couple of times he throws a sidearm ball to avoid kind of getting bad down. He has the ability to change the arm angle, which also helps, be able to throw around guys rather than always over the top of them. So just a lot of good things to like. I liked how, again, the eyes were really good. And that's one thing you always worry about when guys get sacked a lot is, do they start looking at the rush a lot more? This kid doesn't do that. When Griffin was a rookie, one of the things that I remember the coaches talking about for the next year was keeping the play alive. They worked a lot of that in training camp in 15. Now, clearly he was not a part of that because he's still recovering from a knee injury, but it was a point of emphasis with them. And you would see him working on that on the side field with it, but it wasn't as instinctive for Robert to do that. But part of the problem was, as a rookie, he would a lot of times behind the line of scrimmage, 10 yards deep, tuck it, and you decide to run. And there were a couple of times earlier this year that Howell did that. He's gotten out of that. And I think, against Philly, there was one time he just took off with his eyes because it's 3rd and 4 in the red zone. It's tight. You've got to go get it. That's perfect. But other times now he's keeping his eyes down the field all the time. And I think that's a really, really good thing. And it resulted in big plays time and again on Sunday. There was one of my favorite plays. It's just a little play. And it's I don't even know, like they may say, oh, it's just a basic play. But again, use of eyes. So there's one where if you remember the seam pass, kind of like a seam pass to the left to De'Ami Brown for 19 yards. Well, on the play, say Howell takes the snap, it takes like 2 steps. His feet are in the direction where he's going to throw the ball, basically. But he takes his eyes over to his right. What that does is that the linebacker who would have been in the gap to defend the Brown pass sells it. He buys the fake. And you see him, and I'm putting up pictures for you who watch it on YouTube. You see the linebacker just turn and start going to his left, and Howell quickly turns back and throws a strike to De'Ami Brown for 19 yards. Clears the gap with the eyes. Just a really good job. And it was subtle. It was, it doesn't have to be this long, exaggerated look. It's a look over here. The guy's spying it. Now you're going back. And that's what he did. So, there was another time, again, keeping the eyes downfield and not just looking at the rush. If you remember the 3rd and 8, the sail route to McLaurin, where he comes inside, jukes, turns inside and cuts back out. 3rd and 8, it was linebacker stunted to the middle. So there's pressure. So he gets hit as he throws the ball, but completes like 20, I think it was 24-yard pass to McLaurin. I'm getting some of these numbers wrong, I think. So I apologize for that. But the bottom line is it was a longer gain. I think it was 24, but it's more so about what Howell is doing and just the strike he threw on this play. And, it was impressive because he's getting hit as he throws. And next play, it's about accuracy. On the next play, this is the one where he throws a little bit behind McLaurin, but he does that because what I told you with the linebacker on the last one, he can't do it on this one. This is a boom, boom throw, bang, bang throw. And he puts it to a little bit to McLaurin's right, just a little bit behind him, because if he doesn't, the linebacker has a chance to deflect it. But then McLaurin takes it for a 36-yard gain. So 2 back-to-back big plays because of the eyes down the field and just without worrying about the hit. And because of just, to me, that was accuracy. That's where he wanted to, I'm going to guess strongly that that's where he wanted to throw it, because otherwise the linebacker has a shot at that. The accuracy to Dotson on the touchdown was off the charts. Just a really good job. Again, that one was a really clean pocket. And I think that's where the line, deserves credit regardless, but that was a really good job by that group on that play. And so I think that was a good thing for them. And Howell makes a good throw, throwing it to kind of leading them back across the middle. Because if you see McLaurin's on the other side, they're beating guys. And Ron Rivera said that, there was some of it was with the coverage and where maybe they got funneled on the play, like McLaurin, because they're kind of he brought his guy over there. But Dotson runs it right. And so, but what Howell does well is he also leads them to an open area. And that was a good thing. It kept it out of danger. McLaurin's guy almost gets there, but he doesn't. Just to drop the dime in there, and Dotson makes the good play.
In sports, the scoreboard doesn't tell the full story, but Netflix does. Stories about dads who happen to be world-class quarterbacks and a battle for the heart, soul, and direction of the multi-billion-dollar business of F1. Whether you're a diehard fan or you're brand new, Netflix has the stories for every type of fan. You can watch these incredible sports stories like Quarterback, F1 Drive to Survive, Untold, and many more now on Netflix.
Need a holiday gift that will keep her sparkling all year long? Blue Nile, the original online jeweler, has experts on hand 24/7 who can help you find the perfect piece. Beyond that, Blue Nile makes the gifting experience easier than ever with guaranteed free shipping and returns, as well as a wide assortment of jewelry of the highest quality at the best price. Right now, get 30% off jewelry at BlueNile.com. That's BlueNile.com for 30% off. BlueNile.com.
Apple Card is the credit card created by Apple. You earn 3% daily cash back up front when you use it to buy a new iPhone 15, AirPods, or any products at Apple. And you can automatically grow your daily cash at 4.15% annual percentage yield when you open a high-yield savings account. Apply for Apple Card in the Wallet app on iPhone. Apple Card subject to credit approval. Savings is available to Apple Card owners subject to eligibility. Savings accounts by Goldman Sachs Bank USA, member FDIC. Terms apply.
Mark your calendars, because November 11th is going to be huge. Yuri Prohaska versus Alex Pereira will face off during UFC 295, but only one fighter will leave with the belt. Secure your victory with unbeatable offers on DraftKings Sportsbook. New customers, strike now to get $200 instantly in bonus bets when you bet $5. Get in on the UFC 295 action with DraftKings Sportsbook, the official sports betting partner of UFC. Download the app now and use code KEIM, K-E-I-M. New customers get $200 instantly in bonus bets when you bet $5. That's code KEIM. Only on DraftKings Sportsbook. The crown is yours. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit www.1800gambler.net. In New York, call 877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY. In Connecticut, help is available for problem gambling. Call 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org. Please play responsibly. On behalf of Boot Hill Casino and Resort, 21 plus age varies by jurisdiction, void in Ontario. Bonus bets expire 168 hours after issuance. See sportsbook.draftkings.com/MMA. Terms for eligibility and deposit restrictions, terms and responsible gaming resources.
Obviously, there were some misses and there's some bad plays. And we talked about the interception yesterday. I still don't know what the hell he was looking at. And I'm going to guess that he doesn't either, because when I was watching the press box, the way he it looked like he just kind of laissez-faire that throw. And I'm thinking, okay, he's throwing it out of bounds. Like, then you watch, like he's throwing it back in the end zone. I don't know why. And I don't think he does either. And so I think that's one where, like, what are you going to learn? Just see what you see. I mean, there are 4 guys there. I thought there were 5, but the fifth one came in the late. So there's 4 guys in that area and 2 receivers. The math doesn't add up, man. So, but again, like, I think I told you my exchange yesterday where after the game, I said to him, like, because that came 5 plays after that 24-yard run in 3rd and 23. So I said to him something about like doing his inner Lamar Jackson. He's like, yeah. And I followed it up with the worst play of my career. I was like, yeah, you did, but at least you did it in a win, and you came back in the second half and you came out strong. And that's the other thing. They always talk about the demeanor with him and the ability to ignore mistakes. First drive, the second half, he comes out, boom, boom, boom. And they go down and get some points. So that was obviously a very good thing for them, but that's how he's been. And that's why they are sold on him, because they see that kind of demeanor. There was one, if you remember, the deep pass to Terry McLaurin, where, listen, Jabril Peppers could have been called for pass interference on that one. I think we know that. However, it could have been pass interference. It should have been a touchdown because he's a little bit late on that one. Looks like he took an extra hitch on the throw. So it's one of those things like, trust what you see. I think, that's McLaurin was going to be there. I mean, that play was there, and I'm not sure quite why. And this is one of the things I'd like to ask, like, what did you see? Because sometimes when you're watching all 22, you can look at their vision, but you don't really feel what they're feeling, right? You can see what's going on. What I do know is you took the extra hitch, and that's my thing is, why did you do that? And that's usually one of those things you can talk to these guys in the locker room about that. It's a lot easier to do that after they win, because then it's like, okay, you won. And, so while you can learn from that in a win, and that's a good thing, but that's something I would ask him, like, why did you take that extra hitch? Because it was there. And so, it happens. There was the other one to John Bates under duress where he's wide open in the end zone, just a good move by Bates, gets by, I think it was a safety, to the middle of the field. Howell's under duress. He gets hit as he throws. Thing is, like, on this game, he had a handful of plays where he's getting hit and he makes a beautiful throw to Pringle, to McLaurin. I mean, just a few times. Sometimes you're not going to do it all the time, man. And on this one, he's just a little bit long. Or no, not a little bit, about 5-10 yards long. But, it happens. But it was a good job by Bates getting open. So listen, I think people should be very encouraged by what they've seen. I think it's so early to say he is or he can, or certainly you can't say, there's no reason to say he couldn't be the future of this franchise. The question is, can he be? Can he be that consistent guy to be able to grab that mantle, the one that this team needs so badly? And, I don't think we certainly can't. Listen, I think the kid's going to be good. What I would think that should be encouraging the last few weeks is that he's not holding the ball quite as long. And he definitely, listen, if you want to drink when I say listen again, or just somebody just mute me if I say it again, pay attention. Anyway, the one thing that I think has been good is that he's not like just always throwing the ball quicker. His time before passing is not a lot different. Against the Eagles it was, but overall it wasn't a lot different in this game. But I thought what they did do, and Bieniemy did a good job with the game plan of creating some of those quick decisions, I think, for him early in the game, especially get into some rhythm. I think there was a really good rhythm in that pass game. I think he absolutely trusts the protection better, and I think he should. I do think it's been better. I think there were times where Cosme had his hands full with Christian Barmore. That guy is a good pass rusher, and there were a few times that he certainly got the better of him because he's their best defensive lineman. But usually there's been a good pocket. And I think that's a big help to Howell. And this is what earlier in the year, that's my thought, my comments always were about, can you give him, not always, but a lot of it was, if you have a quarterback who's going to hold the ball, can you give him that extra 2 or 3/10 of a second that they would need to then complete a possible big play? And I think they've been giving that to him a little bit more lately. And I think what he's done well is maybe get some quicker reads and quicker recognitions to make those quicker reads to help himself. And that's what he's been doing. So the pressure rate has gone down a little bit for him. The sack to pressure rate has gone down. So just know that it was pretty high before the last 2 games. It's a lot more normal. And I think that's where he needs to be. Because if he is, you can see if he's there, then you can see we've seen what he can do. And, yes, he has to be consistent. He has to do it more. It's only been 10 games as a starter. But I think what you want to see is, can you build on this? The answer is absolutely yes. The question is always will be, to what level? And I don't think we'll know that until for a little bit, because you still have to surround him with a better situation. I mean, you give him the Eagles line, I think he's a much different, he's a really good quarterback in that. And I think he's a good quarterback now, but you could give him that kind of protection. I think you really have something, because like, this kid can throw a deep ball pretty well. I mean, that ball to Dotson, 33 yards, I wrote this in the story, but it's just like, he's like flicking a wad of paper into a paper basket, like across the room, just like nice, nonchalant, just a nice, easy toss. It looks when I was talking to Nikki, it looked like a wedge shot to the green, and not one of my wedge shots because that would go off to the right, but it looked like a good golfer's wedge shot to the green. Just nice loft, nice easy swing, dropped it in the bucket, and I think those are good things to see, and just the toughness is a very good thing. We know that. I think he's going to have to still learn on some of those. But what are you going to tell him on the third down run? He broke 2 tackles, and he put them in position to score until he took that away from them. But that's when I think he's getting smarter about knowing when he needs to turn up field, and that was one where he fell to. At third down, you're going to try and pick it up. You're in scoring territory, and there are a couple of times that he went up, he slid to avoid he ended up with a -1 yard sack, but he slid. And so he avoided some pressure, some problems. By the way, of the 3 sacks, I would say one felt like it was on him. And that's one where he could have gone to Dotson down the field, and for whatever reason didn't, but I felt like I think he even had Antonio Gibson out in the flat. So he had some options there. I felt, again, looking at from the all 22, he may disagree being in the pocket because maybe you don't see it, but me sitting in my desk at a computer, I saw it. Why didn't you? No, kidding. But that's what, but in fairness to the line. And then there were a couple of times, I think one of the other sacks was definitely, I think the other 2, one was on the line. I think Cosme gets pushed back. Another one was kind of a combo. I don't know that he could have avoided anything. There was one was a blitz. One was a blitz, a corner blitz. He tried to get around the corner, and then Leno got beat from the outside. And so that was one of them. Oh, okay. You know what, folks? I did find my notes on the sack. So nothing in depth, but I was just trying to see what happened on those, because they've been, again, much better the last 2 weeks. So on the first one, there was the corner blitz, and then Leno gets moved back from the outside. Howell tries to escape as he sees the corner blitz, but he couldn't get away. He didn't realize the backside end was going to be there, and basically grabbed his feet. And that was a sack. On the second one, there was a pressure up the middle, and Cosme rides Barmore a little bit outside. So it creates a little bit of an opening there, but there's a linebacker who's, I think, may have been spying on Howell. And so as Howell runs up, they're there. So the smart thing he does, though, is he just slides, and it's a 1 yard loss. It was a 2nd and 10. And so to be honest, it's a smart play by him just to get down, and he didn't take any unnecessary punishment. So that was a good thing. And it's a 1 yard loss. So it's not a devastating loss. The corner blitz, by the way, led to a 13 yard loss. And on the next play, he runs for 24 on 3rd and 23. So, and then on the last one, Cosme gets driven back off a stunt against Barmore, and he tries to get out, and he can't. It's like a 3 yard loss. So, there was the one the one that I just told you about, the last one, that's where Dotson or Gibson may have been. Gibson was out in the flat, and then Dotson down the middle. I think it wouldn't, I think they could have taken a shot down there. Looked like there's 2 safeties deep, but one was playing more up. And I think Dotson would have you could have thrown, if he had been able to, and that's the thing, is it's hard to see, could he have planted and thrown that? He may have had that opportunity and just throw it out there for Dotson, and it may have been a race to the ball. But I kind of like Dotson based on his positioning on the play and just knowing how fast he is and can get to the ball. But, it was, so he didn't, and Gibson was out in the flat, but there was a kind of a linebacker inside far enough away where you could have been okay, but you don't, I think, we've seen that before this year. So anyway, only a 3 yard loss. So the sacks weren't devastating. If you the last 2 games, 2 sacks per game, you do that for the rest of the year, I think they'd be pretty happy, because I think this kid will be even more productive. So a good game by him, good second game in a row. There's a lot to like and a lot to build on with Sam Howell. Again, some of it starts with scheme, how they're using the line, and then his own decision making, and I think the improved protection, and Tyler Larson's helping them up front. So there you go. That's all I got for this episode. I'll be back Tuesday night, 7:30 p.m. live stream Eastern time, by the way, with Bram Weinstein, the voice of the Commanders, as we'll talk about Sam Howell, probably the pass rush, where this team goes. They have a game against Seattle. It's a big game, because you win that one, you're right back in it. And Seattle certainly is 5-3. However, they've had they coming off a really bad loss, which could be good or bad. It could mean that maybe they're not that good. It also could mean that they'll be a little bit pissed off and want to play better at home, where they do usually pretty well. Anyway, regardless, I'll talk to you next time.